It's 35 p.m. Welcome to the February 28th, 2024 special joint meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission and Library Commission. This is a hybrid meeting with commissioners, city staff, and members of the public participating at the Arriaga Family Recreation Center in accordance with public health guidelines for in-person meetings and members of the public participating remotely. I would like to introduce commissioners and staff present. Myself, Chair Mary Bunyake, Commissioner Peter Joshua, Commissioner Woman Lee, Commissioner Kelsey Ferrio, Commissioner Amisha Osa, part of Library Commission, Commission Alan Cohen,
Sorry.
Commissioner David Paul, Commissioner Jennifer Wise, Commissioner, Vice Chair Havneet Singh, and Commissioner,
Michael here.
okay, sorry, Commissioner Michael Herrick. And then staff present include, did I meet every commissioner? Did I miss? Want to make sure.
You got them all?
Okay. Staff present includes Library and Community Services Director Sean Reinhardt, Assistant Library and Community Services Director Nick Shedda, and Management Analysis Ashley Walker. Ashley will be helping facilitate the meeting. Ashley, will you please take a moment and provide instructions to the commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Yes, thank you, Chief. For members of the public who are attending this meeting virtually and wish to provide public comment, after the panel calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. For those who are calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9 to raise your virtual hand. For members of the public attending in person, there are speaker cards available on the table. Please complete one and turn it into staff before public comment is called for the item you wish to speak on. If there are a large number of public commenters, the time limit may be justified in care in order to allow everyone a chance to comment. When your turn for public comment has arrived, staff will unmute you. And with that, I'll return the meeting to the chair.
Well, thank you. We will begin tonight with item C1, a study session for Belhaven Community Campus project updates, including startup activities and milestones. Sean Reinhardt will introduce the item.
Thank you. Could someone pull up the presentation? It's in the box folder. So we're super excited of this long journey toward building a new community campus in Belhaven is coming true. The new facility will be opening soon. We're really just so grateful for all of the contributions and input and work that these two commissions have put in to help us inform that project and get it ready for opening. So we really have arrived at the point where we're kind of in the home stretch before grand opening this spring. So this study session, we actually have some a timeline, some startup activities, some milestones. We just really kind of wanted to bring the commissions together to kind of talk about that and get ready because the opening will be here before you know it. So let's see, maybe we can just go through the slide deck really quickly here. And I think the main thing is for us to kind of hear your feedback. This is the monument sign in front of the building. It's actually there now at 100 Terminal Avenue. We've got it covered up right now just to protect it, but this is what it looks like. So you can see that really cool look. Next slide, please. This is a study session. There's no action needed. We're really looking to just have a conversation and get some input. And comments and ideas from the two commissions. So included in the staff report with attached, and there are slides here that show it in case we want to refer to them, is a tentative timeline of startup activities and milestones from now until the opening later this spring, starting with the temporary certificate of occupancy, meaning we'll take ownership of the building early next month, all the way up to the grand opening that we're projecting in mid-May. All the dates are still tentative, but it's getting pretty firm here. We're in the home stretch. This slide. So as I mentioned, right now, we are anticipating temporary certificate of occupancy, March 8th. What that means is it's no longer a construction site. There's still some additional cleanup work to be done, but at that point is the city would, take possession of it. For background for the new commissioners, Meta Platforms is actually constructing the building. So they've been temporarily like in control of the site during construction, but they're about to hand it back over to us and we're gonna get it released on March 8th. City staff will be accessing the building on a pretty regular basis. After that, on March 8th, by the way, is Friday, I believe, a week from Friday. We estimate 60 to 90 days after the issuance of the temporary certificate of occupancy to get the final certificate of occupancy, to the start of activities of installing the furniture, training the staff. There's some certifications and licensing around like the youth center program, the senior center food service and other things. So just to break that down a little bit, the furniture, such as the tables, the chairs, the desks, computers, all that stuff. March and April, all those things are starting to be installed in the building. Supplies of small equipment, basketballs, volleyballs, all that stuff to kind of equip the building in the April and May timeframe. It's around the April timeframe that we would be ramping up to have staff in the building pretty much full time at that point, getting ready. March, it'll be more of like a part-time thing while the furniture is still being installed. Then, let's see, looking ahead, I also want to call out that we do have programs that are currently operating in interim locations that will be moving into the new facility, and some of the furniture will be moving in, but not all. So for example, the senior center is operating out of this building. They're going to move over and kitchen, equipment and things like that. Also developing a new center, that's the after school program. It's currently in some portables at Kelly Park. They have a shorter walk to just walk across the field to move in, but that will happen in May. Because we want to limit the gap when those services are closed, because they're going to have to shut down for weeks. So just a little bit about the recreation classes at the Belhaven Community Campus. That the opening in mid-May will be kind of right in the middle of our traditional spring recreation class season. So we're looking to have like a mini season of classes at the Belhaven Community Campus that would start in mid-May and only extend for about 6 weeks, as opposed to the traditional 10 to 12 weeks. So for example, recreation classes on this campus will start up in the early part of March. So we're going to do a special season for that. We are really focused on bringing back the contract instructors who were in the previous center to continue to provide those classes. These folks have taught really popular neighborhood-oriented classes, like there's a Spanish for youth and adults, and there's soul dance and Aztec dance and a few others. So we're bringing all those back. We also have been doing outreach to community members and local nonprofit organizations that have experience teaching classes that align with what we heard from the community and also from the commission about the types of classes that folks want to see in the new BHCC. For example, job training comes to mind. They're based in Menlo Park. There was an interest in like job training and job placement services. So we're talking with them, and that's just one example. Some other examples are martial arts, coding, financial literacy, and health and wellness, arts and crafts. The idea is to establish a variety of classes for youth and adults. We plan to do a call for instructors in March. That's something we do every season. We put it out there, hey, if you want to teach a class, here's the type of classes we're looking for. This is a great kind of work opportunity for folks who do dance classes or do arts and crafts. And so we're planning to do that in March. We're planning to open registration to Menlo Park residents. This is for the Belhaven Community Campus mini season in mid-April. With those classes then starting in May, mid-May, second part of May, when the new campus opens. So that's separate and distinct from the call for registration that you may have seen has started to go out. We should be starting, I think, March 9th. This is kind of separate and a little bit later than that. And then I won't go through everything here. This is basically just for reference. It's in the staff report. There's a little bit more of a breakdown, just walking through chronologically from the temporary certificate of occupancy March 8th. Some details about starting janitorial service and so forth, when the furnishings, when we're doing some recruitments. We've noted the dates of the regular meetings, the city council meeting on March 12th, the library commission meets again March 18th, and so forth. I do want to call out that this is a Red Cross emergency shelter, and so we're looking to update the agreement to include the Belhaven Community Campus. We're hoping to announce a grand opening date by the end of March, at a specific date. Then in April, we're really focusing on the operating licenses and permits, as I've mentioned, that registration for that mini season of classes. We're looking to finalize the instructor agreements, and that, like, as I mentioned earlier, the daytime staff occupancy pretty much every day at that point by mid-April. Also in April, you have a couple more commission meetings. At that point is when we're looking at some of the programs that are moving to close. So, like late April, we're looking for the Belhaven Library, currently at the Belhaven School, the current location, to close in late April so that we can move into the new facility. Same with the Menlo Park Senior Center, which is currently operating out of this building, late April, to close that down so we can begin to move over. I do want to call out, just back up one little slide there, sorry, just go back. That one right there. Just in late April, May, I want to, there's an acronym in there I did want to call out where it says noise studies / ASHP testing. That is related to the, so the building is all electric. There's no fossil fuels being consumed in that building. And that is, that includes for heating the swimming pools, which is a tall order, so it requires some air source heat pumps. These are the electric heat pumps, but large enough to actually heat 2 swimming pools. They generate a little bit of a sound, like fan sound, and they're located kind of at the south end of the building. There are some residences a couple hundred feet away. So the noise study is really kind of testing with those pumps in action, like, well, what is that noise impact? What needs to be done there to just make sure to mitigate that for the residents who live there. That's on Del Norte Avenue. So that's what ASHP stands for. In May, we're really looking toward opening the new building. The aquatics operator, as you may know, the swimming pools are operated by through a public-private partnership. So that's Team Sheeper. They can run the Burgess pool. They're going to run the new Belhaven pool. City Council will work that contract back in the fall. We're looking at early May. They would actually take their occupancy in the pool. And let's see. As I mentioned, the Belhaven Youth Center, they're right across the field. So they would close early May to move over. We're looking to do some sneak preview tours in the week leading up to opening, including the commission, of course. Let's see. I did want to call out on the approved calendars for the commissions to have another joint meeting in May and to have it in the new facility. So just want to put that on your radar. And then at some point in mid-May, date yet to be announced will be the grand opening festivities and start operations. Okay, I walked through that a little bit more than I said I would, but I wanted to make sure I called out everything so that it's kind of front of mind. A few other things, so let's see, master fee schedule amendment. The city council on January 9th adopted updates to the master fee schedule to include fees for renting the facilities at the Belhaven Community Campus, and they also introduced the hyperlocal resident fee rate. So the hyperlocal resident fee rate is really intended for people who live within the service area of the Belhaven Community Campus. So it's roughly within 1.5 miles, 2 miles, will receive an additional discount on classes and rentals at the Belhaven Community Campus, 35%, pretty much across the board with a few variances. And that's consistent with, on the other end, the non-resident premium in all of our recreation facilities is 35% more than residents. And that's really to ensure and to incentivize use of the Belhaven Community Center by folks who live in the neighborhood. That's really what was being built for. Of course, all are welcome. Which is that incentive. Also, last night, the city council did approve aquatic fees across the board, including for the Bellhaven pool. Previously, the operator of the aquatics program said that these at their discretion. With the new operator agreement, it's required that they charge fees that are set by city council in the master fee schedule, so we did that last night, which is great. And that it does include the hyperlocal rate at Bellhaven pool. And then also included in the, you can go to the next slide for this one. Wanted to call out for the commissions, the draft calendar of community events in 2024, and in particular, like in June. And later you start to see where some of the major community events and activities are programmed at the Bellhaven community campus, which is really exciting. Well, I think that sums up the presentation. And so I think I'll turn it back to the chair for public comment and then discussion on the commission and all of that.
Actually, do we have any public comment on this item?
At this time, if you'd like to make a public comment, please bring a comment forward. If you're on Zoom, sorry, it's not shared, so you can see it. There. If you're on Zoom, please notify the staff liaison by using the raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're dialing in, you can use *9 to engage the raise hand function. Is there any public comment at this time? No, there's not a public comment.
Thank you. With that public comment is closed. We'll open the item for commission discussion. Is there any commissioners that have any things to add or questions or clarifications needed?
Quick question, you mentioned hyper local fees, and that sounds like a great idea. Is there a resident, like a Menlo Park resident fee and then non-resident fee on top of that?
Correct. So the kind of the default, it would be like the resident rate for all the recreation classes for rentals. And then so the hyper local is discounted from that 35% less, and then non-residents is 35% more. And then that is informed by the most recent cost of services study that the city did. It was in 2018. And that's how we sort of arrived at that 35% differential. That's getting long in the tooth now. 2018 was, I can't remember what I was doing in 2018, to be honest. So this year in 2024, we're planning to do a big one.
Revise the
Cost of
fee
services
structure.
study, which then could inform if there are changes to that differential between resident, non-resident, and local.
But will it also set the overall fee structure, like how much to charge for to rent out the community center or other?
It could, it definitely helps to inform it. You know, since the current structure is sort of based on the previous cost of services study, when it comes to rentals of facilities too, we also kind of look at, you know, the specific rooms and the amenities they have and sort of what is the going rate elsewhere.
Mhm.
I don't anticipate it changing too much, but look, we want to make sure that we're doing the math periodically.
And that's separate from the study.
No, the study would inform that, for sure. And it does come back to like, well, what is the cost of like maintaining the facility, staffing the facility, providing the facility, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you.
It seems like a lot of work, and so I think just meeting the milestones is probably sort of a benchmark of success for this year, but I guess I'm wondering, sort of thinking ahead, whether you started to think about how to sort of set benchmarks. I'm new to Menlo Park, fairly new, so I don't know what was there before, but I know there's a lot of services there before, and whether, you know, new is usually better, but whether you sort of give some thought to how you sort of, you know, survey especially the hyperlocal community about what their sense is after it's open. What's better, what's worse, what's the same, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so a few things, and we totally welcome some thoughts and ideas from the commissions. I think you raised a great point here about how do we assess how well we're doing with the new facility. So, later on the agenda, in the department updates, we do sort of just take like the outputs, we have like, statistics about usage. So we'll be adding that into, like the monthly reporting on people who are using the facilities, on residents versus non-residents. And I think on the sort of like the more quality, sort of the outcomes side, there, the idea of like, surveying the users of the facility, is really important. We currently have an aquatics survey in the field that we're looking to wrap up now. What we were kind of thinking, we'd like to hear your thoughts on this, is if since the new facility would be opening in spring, we anticipate summer would be, the big first summer of usage there. And then, like at the tail end of summer might be a good time to do like a survey of the users. Fairly comprehensive so that we can really kind of make that additional assessment, but we welcome other thoughts on that.
And I think built in within each commission, part of, we have, we've created our goals that we have in each commission. With an annual goals or that?
Yeah,
There are,
it's annual.
and then within is built in some of the goals of what you were asking for is embedded in that. We would be looking at how things are operating. So there is something on paper that's been created.
So you'll be able to be part of that. You'll say for the library commission where you're like, if you want to know, if you want to like. Put particular focus on programs and events at the Bellhaven Community Campus, that's something that you could work into your commission work plan. But it's also things that you could agendize through the chair of the library commission to bring up at future meetings, like let's check in. Staff are certainly going to be working on that. And the community is not shy at all about telling us whether we're doing a good job or not a good job, or we like this or not that, but we do have more sort of formal surveys that we put out or ways of gathering information from the community.
Yeah, I just noticed that the city council, that is one of their top priorities this year, and I wondered if they've given guidance on other than opening it. Whether there's something we should be, tracking, because they just sort of say it's important.
Yeah, some top line ones really are that, it's primarily serving residents of Menlo Park. And it's primarily serving residents, in the neighborhood. In the previous center, there was some concern about, sort of like private facility renters. And then I think also just to be frank, folks who work at Facebook really like using the facility a lot and making it so that they're booked all the time. And then neighborhood residents kind of couldn't get a slot in there. And so we really want to like kind of avoid that outcome. Back to the library. The Bellhaven Library currently is situated, and it's been there since I think 1999 in the sharing space with the Bellhaven School. Super awesome concept at the time, but it never quite like clicked. And so it's always kind of functioned more or less as a school library that's really kind of focused for kids. And what we heard a lot there from like adults and teens in particular is that it just doesn't quite work for them. And you can see that in the usage numbers, they're quite low now. But I do want to acknowledge that the Bellhaven neighborhood, there's a geographic kind of barrier there, which is the US 101 freeway. That's about 1/5 of the community. So I wouldn't expect the usage numbers at the Bellhaven Library to like rival those of the main library, which is essentially located in the other 4/5 of town. But it's not even 20% of the usage. It's quite low. We heard feedback is that it just doesn't fit the needs for the whole neighborhood. So we want to really be looking closely at, the new library, the new building is quite a bit more substantial. It's on 2 levels instead of 1. There's a separate children's area. There's a all ages area that's really geared for adults. It even has a teen lounge and a makerspace in it. And so we'd like to see more usage there and more positive community feedback. That's another huge challenge for us.
We're planning on bringing our library services supervisor. We're planning on bringing the results of the neighborhood survey that we recently had for suggestions for library materials at the campus. So we'll bring some to that to the March meeting of the library.
And moving that. Yeah, I have a question about the heat pump, noise, because I remember, I think it was the planning commission, it was on the planning commission, and I remember it being, like, kind of controversial topic, but I don't ever remember really hearing a resolution of it. Could you speak to like what happened with the planning commission and what the plan is for the noise?
Yes, thank you for bringing this up, so to refresh everybody. So the main question or concern was, are those pumps going to generate noise that A, is like impactful to the residents who live nearby? And B, and more importantly, as important, is will it fall within the city's own noise ordinance, right, which sets limits, so there's like a quantifiable way to measure that. And theoretically, it was like not 100% certain. You know, the different studies look at it, and say, well, it looks like it actually could comply with the ordinance, but it might not. And so that whole discussion with the planning commission was around seeking a variance to the noise ordinance to allow it to potentially exceed by a few decibels. The planning commission, and I think also the city council, they said, you know, we really don't want to issue a variance. We really don't think that we want to do that. Why don't we instead, it looks like it's pretty close. It's like kind of within the margin of error here. Let's go ahead and install the heat pumps. Let's do actual noise readings once they're up and running. And then we can determine at that point what to do. We also did a study of the ambient temperatures historically in Menlo Park, specifically around how long do the heat pumps need to operate to bring the pools up to the temperature needed in order to run them in like the coldest day of winter, the longest night. And that actually was quite promising. It looked like we wouldn't even necessarily need to run the pumps overnight during the most challenging period in order to keep them running. And like once in 10 years, the temperature dipped to a point where it was not possible. So, and that combined with some pool covers and some other things. So there's a lot of different options, and that's kind of where it landed. And that's why the noise study is kind of coming back, because the pumps are in place. We can actually run them and go out there with the decibel and do the testing.
Is there,
Hey, David.
do you have another comment?
Sorry, good job.
So was there previously, back to a previous question about, or shifting the collection over, you know, from the current Bellhaven library to the new library? I imagine a whole bunch of surveys and community input sessions have been provided to get to where we are today in terms of what's going to be at the library and how it's going to be laid out and the kind of resources the community is looking for. That's already.
Yeah, so we've done most of that work. And what we've done is sort of plan to have an opening day collection based on that work. Kind of a section of budget set aside to purchase based on the results of this most recent survey. And then a section of budget set aside to buy kind of reactive collection to when customers come in and say, oh, you don't have this, we want this. So then we'll have money set aside. So we've kind of, that's kind of a tricky thing where you're working with, you know, budget and shelf space and trying to kind of figure out how all those little moving parts fit together. But we are planning to have a nice, robust opening day collection, hopefully really tailored to what the community has told us that they want, but then also the ability to buy whatever people request. That's one of the things that we do in the libraries now is, you know, we're not a big library collection, but we will get it for you. Either we'll just buy it or we'll get it for you through, an interlibrary loan service called Loan Plus from another library in California. And that's sort of laid out in our collection development policies.
Okay, and one last question
Yeah, sure.
about the Bellhaven Library, the current library itself, is the property owned and like leased from the school district, or is it Menlo Park city property?
Yeah, you're correct. It is owned by the Ravenswood City School District, and we operate the library there under a memorandum of understanding MOU between the school system and the city. But if I could go a little further, I don't know if this is really where you're going, but there's interest in what's going to happen to that existing collection there when we move out and go to the new campus. Some of it will be absorbed because the materials that we're going to have in the community campus libraries will be all new. We're not taking things from the existing Bellhaven library and moving them over. We're gonna buy all new. So some of the items will be absorbed into the collection at the Alma Street Library. Some of the items, the remaining items will be offered to the Bellhaven School, which is going to continue to operate a library out of that space. For a while, they weren't sure whether they were going to operate a library out of that or not, but they are going to operate their library out of that.
They've already kind of started moving in.
Yeah, they're kind of sort of like, wait, we're not ready. And then the rest of those items would be offered to our Friends of the Library organization, which can often give them away, like, or sell them to raise money for the library.
Thank you.
Could I chime in there too? I do want to just take a moment to acknowledge and again, thank the Friends of Menlo Park Library who donated $300,000 toward the Opening Day collection of books and furniture in the new Bellhaven Library. So that's why we're trying to have that luxury of really just getting all the materials there. And then the other thing, Nick, you might want to talk about how the books will circulate and how people will sort of check out.
That's a good point. So some of the worry with having a brand new collection is that the library is part of the Peninsula Library System, which is a resource sharing group of public libraries in San Mateo County. So you can borrow books and place holds and have them sent to any of the public libraries in the county. So the worry was, because this has happened at some of the newer branch libraries that have opened up in the county, in other jurisdictions, you open a brand new library, you got all these brand new books, everybody puts holds on them and the shelves are empty, which is not what we wanted to happen. So all of the materials that we're buying for the campus library will be just reserved for walk-in use only, or for reserved by Menlo Park residents, so they're not gonna go spend time flying around the county. So we hope we'll have a really good idea of what the community wants and is using, and we can sort of cater the collection as we go on to make sure that it really fits the community.
Move on to D, informational items. Informational items are transmitted to the commission in staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance. Informational items are not action items. However, a commissioner, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. We'll start with D1, Library and Community Services Department updates.
I'll quickly just list the jog memories in case of the questions. We do have the statistics for all the various programs. No questions about that here. There's a recap of the Black Liberation Month celebration and youth poetry exhibition. I mentioned the aquatic survey that's out in the field right now. There's also an update on the tennis and pickleball courts, which are now open for free drop-in play, no key required anymore. We also had a really cool library adventure event earlier this month. Also, the Burgess Park playground improvements are proceeding apace. And then we've already mentioned community events, so those are the topics in this report. Happy to answer any questions, provide more information.
And I've got a couple of quick updates which have come up since we published the report. One is for members of both commissions for that poetry exhibition, the Youth Voices exhibition that we're going to have coming up. We need someone to sit on the panel to help go through and pick sort of featured poems that will be read in front of the city council. So if any of you have any interest, and you don't have to read them all, we divide it up, usually by age group. That's some really wonderful.
You will want to read them.
They're really pretty amazing. We are planning to publish all of the poems that are submitted and have that bound edition of published poems for the participants, and also add copies to our local author collection. So that's one. And then the city clerk would be very happy with me if I let you all know that advisory body recruitment is now open for vacancies on the various city advisory bodies. The application period is open and closes on March 27th. You can apply through the city website. That's something we're very familiar with from having applied recently. So if you know folks, good folks who would contribute to the civic body, please encourage them to apply.
So I have a question. So on the statistics, I think we've talked about this before, but like just showing the absolute number doesn't really give a lot of context. And so if you show either year on year or like the last 3 years of data, you know, total program attendance, number of books circulated, so on and so forth, like just having this number doesn't really tell me a whole lot. And so I'm curious, like, what should we take from this?
Yeah, thank you for that. So, some of these statistics, we, weren't collecting them as regularly, especially in the aftermath of the pandemic. So actually what you're seeing here from January 2023 to the present, in some cases, that is sort of the whole universe of recent years where we have reliable data. So at this point, we are actually now getting to the point where like, hey, here's how we're compared to this time last year. We also, and I think this is a good suggestion that you just made, we can call back to before the pandemic, and pull some stats from back then. So maybe we can do that in the next group over, because now we've got enough data, I think, to make that a meaningful comparison.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be helpful. I think from the pandemic era, just understanding I would imagine a lot of the activity was online or digital. And so just seeing how did it stay consistent? Did it drop? Does that imply that you need to invest more in your online digital presence or not? It would just be interesting to see a trend line.
Great, good point.
I have a question about the data too. I can't remember the exact numbers that I looked at, but I was looking at the gymnastics specifically, and I was wondering, how, if at all, the data is used to like inform, like pushing programs, because it seemed like in this most recent session, it really shifted toward non-residents registering, disproportionately against residents. And so I was wondering if like at all that information it informs like what they're doing, right? Is it residents into these programs? I know they have a full week to register before non-residents, so maybe it's not really an issue, but.
Yeah, great comment. And so I think actually, since these are kind of summary numbers, gymnastics in particular, for like next month, when the PRC is meeting on its own, we will do a deeper dive and actually do a breakdown by the different classes, resident, non-resident. We actually have are changing our registration process a little bit in the next go around to ensure that residents have every opportunity, in particular if they're not like super savvy, like to be online like exactly 10:00 AM to register, because we sort of ran into some issues where. Yeah, which, the gymnastics is a very special case where it's extremely popular. And so we're actually gonna do a few things in this next go around to make sure that the playing field's a little more even there. But based on the
Yeah.
feedback we received.
And I guess what was surprising to me was, obviously, I've reached out about the gymnastics registration myself, and I know the younger kids programs are very competitive. I was surprised at how many non-residents are getting into other programs, and so I was wondering, it obviously seems like there's less resident interest in other programs. Is there a push to potentially increase that, or is the program okay with the way that it is? I don't know if that
Our
makes sense.
priority is definitely like residents, nothing against non-residents, but residents are the ones who pay the taxes, that, support the facilities. We wanna make sure that, residents have every opportunity, as opposed to non-residents. We need to do a deeper dive into the data to kind of really understand, is that a demand issue, or is there something in the registration process? It seems a little off that, residents have like a full week to register all by themselves without non-residents in the mix. So I think we'll look at the breakdown resident, non-resident next month to kind of understand which classes is this happening, what can we do? Maybe it's just the nature of the class, but I kind of doubt it, so we'll find out. Thank you.
I think sort of going on that for the library statistics, I think you mentioned distance from longitudinal data, and it was hard, especially with the pandemic, since we're sort of part of the county-wide system. If it'd be possible to sort of do some comparative analysis for whatever's available, I mean, so property circulation statistics is probably the easiest, just to get out of that common ILS, or, whatever it was. So I would really appreciate that, not that it means that, people in Menlo Park read more than people in Atherton, but I think that would really help to contextualize.
Yeah, we totally do, by the way. So, yeah, but I just thought we go on the library side next month. We could do a little bit more of a comparison to the other jurisdictions in San Mateo County. There's actually, I think it's around this time of year that the state library is
Publishes
their statistics, so we can also look at some other, like Bay Area jurisdictions is pretty good. Santa Clara County, there's some good comparables there.
Yeah, the trick is finding not just geographically close libraries, but finding libraries of similar size, serving similar populations and with similar budget sizes, because those can both kind of inform programming and collection decisions. But we can bring some stuff next.
Just, I made me think of another question. You mentioned earlier about, the catalog and the new library will be only open to residents and not, from the, like, Peninsula Library.
Initially.
Initially, but what kind of mechanism, like if I go onto the website and I put in my Menlo Park Library card, will it recognize that I want to reserve the book and then I get to reserve it?
Yeah, I'll let Nick answer the second part, but I do want to do a clarification on the first part, which is the library. Anyone in California can get a public library card in Menlo Park and borrow materials. The difference here we're talking about is that the Bellhaven Community Campus, the Bellhaven Library, you can only get those materials if you physically come to the library to pick them up. And so, then I let Nick talk about like how we're gonna do the holds.
Yes, so they'll be visible, so searchable, you can see them, but they just won't be able to be holdable. So that's something that we can do sort of in the back end. So, and unless we were the only holder of a particular book, like we had the only copy of this one particular book, it shouldn't provide any problems for people where they would like at other jurisdictions searching, seeing that book, trying to put a hold on it. It says no copies available. Why? It's there, I can see it. So yeah, it's a couple of, we want them to be visible so people can search them. We can suppress everything in the catalog so you can't even see it, so you don't know what you're missing, but then you can't search for it.
Right.
But I don't want to overcommit the library staff, but we've been talking about this, which is like when you, like as a resident, open the catalog, oh, look, this book here, it says it's on the shelf at the Bellhaven Library, I want to go get it. But I'm worried that in the time it takes me to go over there, someone's gonna grab it. So, it would be like a call library in that situation.
Yeah, we do that all the time, yeah, so.
And again, the idea is to really just prioritize the folks in town.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
At this time, if you'd like to make a public comment, please notify the staff by using the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're dialing in, you can use the star 9 function to engage the raising function. No public comment.
Okay, move on to D2, tentative agenda calendars.
I think good to put them on the screen, so that each of the commissions can kind of do a look ahead. So we heard a few different topics, so we want to make sure that we get them plugged in. We don't sort of plug them in real time here, but just want to make sure we capture them.
Do you want here to?
I would work.
Is it very small?
Oh, you're good now, but maybe you could just zoom in. Yeah, there you go.
That's,
Maybe not quite that.
no, that was good.
Yeah, so just doing a look ahead today, obviously this is February, so the HCC project update, so we're looking ahead in March. We do have, the state library, gives grant to replace the main library roof, and we're actually gonna add solar while we're at it, so we'll talk about that a little bit next month. We did want to do a touch base with the library commission, about early childhood education, the city's childcare programs. There's going to be some discussion with the city council about that. There have been some pandemic related impacts to enrollment, but we check in with the library commission. With the book survey results.
Yes.
Next month. And then I think we want to make sure that we do like enhanced statistics next month. We heard in particular the year over year, comparison to county and state that's available yet. And, let's see. And in particular, looking at the impact of the pandemic on digital usage. And so one or more of those might slip to April, but we just want to make sure that we capture them. And then looking ahead, there's some sort of business items in April. Nick mentioned the advisory body appointments. I think any new commissioners, typically they're seated at the might be April meeting, but it might be May, kind of depends when the appointments happen, they come to the next meeting. Typically each year the commission selects the chair and the vice chair in April. Also, I think we want to bring back the department strategic plan. That's something that both commissions have kind of been looking at over the past few months. And we can maybe scroll down just really quickly and see if there's any other comments. Oh, and then the work plan, the commission work plan was mentioned. We typically do that each summer because they're due to the city council in September of each year. But open to anything else that we want to put on there. And certainly come up over the course of the year, but the stuff on the right now is hopefully plug it in if you can.
what is the process for agendizing a new item? Like, oh, hey, I have this idea for maybe something that the library commission should look into. Do I first bring it to staff and talk about it and then we'll go from there about maybe agendizing it among the whole group or?
That's one way, or one reason why we look at the tentative agenda schedule of each meeting is it provides an opportunity to just bring it up right now.
Okay.
But you can always like move the chair or put staff liaison there, however you want, either of those methods works. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to bring it up in the context of the full commission so that you kind of see if folks are generally in agreement, like, yeah, let's talk about that.
And we do have a couple of comments on this one, so if you guys want to hear that before continuing discussion. Is that okay with you in public comment? Right, at the time, if you'd like to make a public comment, please notify staff by using the raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're dialing in, you can use *9 to engage the raise hand feature. We have David Yoshida. Hi, David, can you hear us? If you could just unmute your. Hi, David.
How's that?
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes. So I would like to make a public comment about pickleball. Is this a good time?
No, so if you could actually, this agenda item is just for the tentative calendar. So if you had something related to pickleball about the calendar, maybe you wanted to suggest that they add it to a certain month, you could do that, but this is just for tentative agenda calendar items.
Is the public comment period over?
There was no call for general public comment today because this is a special meeting.
That said, if I may, we're looking at the library commission tentative agenda calendar right now. I think, taking public comment on that. After that, we're gonna look at the Parks and Recreation Commission calendar, and then we'll open public comment again. And Mr. Yoshida, that would probably be a good opportunity to, talk about pickleball. So if you wouldn't mind, maybe just hold that thought. When we get to the next public comment period, you can make your comment then.
All right, thank you very much. I'll hold it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
And before we move on, was there a specific item you'd like to add to the calendar for?
No, not right now, but like in the future,
Okay,
ideas will come up.
before we move on.
Okay, thank you.
We move on to the calendar.
Jonah.
Yes, so I'll do similar, but maybe a little more brief, but next month, just a heads up to the PRC, the Youth Advisory Committee is gonna be making a presentation about their activities. Super excited about that. There's a couple of policies, there might even be a few more. The Recreation Scholarship Policy, we wanna bring that back for the PRC to look at. And the event sponsorship policy. There may actually be a couple more related to facility rentals, but March will be a few policies. Similarly, electing chair and vice chair in April, we want to bring back the strategic plan. If you could scroll down a little bit, May is going to be a joint meeting at the DHCC, which is great. I do want to note the pickleball feasibility study, so relevant there for the commenter. Looking at that in summer, maybe June. I do want to note here, last night, the city council gave some direction about the pickleball feasibility study, so it might be June, might be more like August, we'll see. And then the work plan again would be like July and August. So, thanks.
With that, we'll open up to public comment.
At this time, if you'd like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're dialing in, you can use *9 to engage the raise hand feature. And you have David Yoshida.
I'm still waiting. Hello,
No, if you
Yeah,
can go
I'm-
ahead and make your submission.
can I speak about pickleball now?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Name, David Yoshida, longtime resident here of Menlo Park. And, my wife and I play pickleball almost daily at, Neelan Park. And, so first thing I would like to do is, thank the Parks and Rec and City Council for, the additions and improvements to Court 5. To include 2 new rollers to squeegee the courts. They work very well. I've mentioned before the garbage cans that were provided. We didn't have them before and now we have them. And the new addition is the back gate. Really appreciate the addition of the back gate. A couple problems. One, the gate is locked. So is there a way that we can unlock the gate so we can enter from the outside? That's one problem. The other problem is the gate needs to be lowered about 1/2 inch. Pickleballs roll underneath the gate. And we sometimes put a towel in front of the gate, but I just want to know if it's possible to lower the gate about 1/2 inch so that the balls don't roll under the gate. The other observation is maintenance has been cleaning our courts. We had leaves on the courts before, and lately the courts have been clean of the leaves, and want to thank Parks and Rec for that additional service. As far as priorities, in my opinion, rather than investing pickleball courts in Willow Oaks, I would like to see pickleball courts built at Burgess. It would be nice to have a complex of about 12 courts on Burgess. Short term, that's a long-term request. A short-term request has to do with an immediate priority of a sound barrier. If we could have a sound barrier put up on the fence to attenuate the pickleball noise to the apartments next door, would really appreciate that. One last idea with regard to courts 3 and 4, I noticed that there are blue lines on the 2 courts. I've measured the lines. They are about 1 foot too wide for pickleball, 21 feet, and about 3 feet too long. It would be possible to either tape or chalk a pickleball court to include a kitchen area, no volley zone, and a baseline. That would be one way to add 2 courts to complement court number 5. So that's the idea. Thank you for hearing.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, with that, did any commissioners have any comments in the PRC group wanting any additions or changes within the calendar? Any comment? Okay.
I did want to note that the Secretariat wanted some more in-depth statistics around gymnastics, so I'm to bring those back next month.
And I think there was also, last thing about the zip line, revisiting the zip line. And then later, once, I think that's what we talked about, the last time we looked at the calendar.
Okay, so if I can suggest the issue of sort of just noise at Milan Park as it relates to the previous commenter was saying, and the zip lines also at Milan Park, so.
Assessing noise.
Yeah.
At that specific site.
Can I, since I have you here, I live very close to Jack Lyle Park. And on the main soccer field where the kids play soccer, there are signs everywhere that say, do not let your dogs run without a leash. But every day, the dogs are running without a leash, and every day there is poop left in various places. I totally get that people want to let their dogs run, and that's great. There is a separate field behind the basketball court where kids don't play soccer. And it's big enough to allow dogs to run around, but there's no fence around it. And so what I would suggest is considering putting a fence along Middle and Fremont Street so that it's an encapsulated area, and then enforce the fact that you're not allowed to let your dogs run without a leash on the soccer fields. And while you're at it, you can fix the light in my house. Separate.
I do want to note that, thank you very much for that suggestion, because that particular topic is not agendized, that's why we're not gonna respond to it right now, but I think if it meets with the rest of the PRC, sort of like, yeah, it seems like something we want to talk about, and add it to.
Maybe we could expand it, because, I think the lack of enforcement around dog stuff is, it's not just isolated to Jack Lyle, it's actually every park. And as a dog owner, it's disappointing to see other dog owners not pick up after their dog, so.
So maybe something to do with like, the item could be like enforcement of park policies. Encompass all parks and.
But also potentially exploring a gated dog park area. I mean, I go with my dog several times a day to the Springline facility, which is very nice to have. But, you know, there, and there's another, I think off of Willow is area for dog park, but, you know, to how, you know, whether to expand the current, you know, locations, but there's another park where there used to be an off-leash area, but then it was, a tree fell down last winter, and then so, not to advocate for one or the other, but to like the long-term dog park, you know, plans, and then in conjunction with that, enforcement of off-leash dogs elsewhere.
Looking at dog parks, access across the city and enforcement policies, updating and reporting it.
Add that to the tentative, looks like, and work with the chair to get it on the calendar.
Move on to. We are on E, Commissioner reports. Would any commissioner like to make a short report out on items of interest to the entire commission? We have both library and park and rec.
I have a report, but I could ask a question at the appropriate time. I should probably should have asked during the agenda, but since I'm just joining, I know there's this strategic plan that was introduced last month, and it was like it's in April that would be recommending it. Is there something that between now and March meeting? I mean, obviously I'll be reading the strategic plan, but you're expecting of all the library commissioners in the March meeting or the April meeting, other than to place some vote or?
Well, we took a bunch of your feedback when we presented the initial draft of the strategic plan. So what we were gonna do is take that, synthesize it, bring it back and say, did we get it? What did we miss? And sort of have a last crack at it and then get it to the point where it'd be something that the commissions could recommend. So,
And any feedback between now and then.
Yeah, but you could
from
send it to-
individual commissioners, you send it into Nick.
if you didn't get that opportunity, you and Commissioner Pollack didn't get that opportunity, you could just send it to me.
I also wanted to welcome our two new commissioners. And then David and. Welcome. Welcome. Anybody else have any comments? Anyone?
I don't have a report, but I had a question, for the Bellhaven Community Campus, I know, we were restricting what was actually placed there because we wanted to comply with the existing environmental guidelines or CEQA, I forget the actual acronym.
But in a manner of speaking, yes.
Yeah, so I was wondering, once we do the opening, if there is a will, or if there is a desire to maybe add, I don't know, like a police, small police, move the police department from the strip mall to community center. What? How would that even happen? Is that even possible? Once the facility is open, or do we still have the same restrictions in place?
This was just in a nutshell, Facebook, now Meta's offer was to replace the previous facilities that were there on that site. And they wanted to do it in a way that didn't trigger the need for an environmental review, which would have taken many additional years. So that's CEQA, or the California Environmental Quality Act. So in order to sort of stay within the confines where the city council could declare that the project is exempt from CEQA because it's just replacing existing facilities, the footprint couldn't get bigger, although it did a little bit, and the library kind of moved in there. But adding a different use in there would definitely have triggered it, like, for example, a police substation. So is it possible to do it afterwards? Totally, but it would be, the city council would have to authorize that. There almost certainly would be an environmental analysis that would have to take place, so all that process would unfold. Yeah, I'll just say, one alternative would be the police substation would just move into the existing building, but then the question is, what would it displace? Because it's, not all of it would fit.
I have one update for the previous library commission, commissioners that asked that we invite council, a member of the city council to come and discuss almost an autopsy of the naming process. I did extend an invitation to Councilwoman Willison. She said she would be here today. Did you guys hear anything different? I mean, that was the response she provided me to hear from us, but maybe she didn't have an opportunity to come, so the offer, if you speak to her, the offer still extends to come to the next one and, participate. So, just so the library commissioners know that.
Yeah, thank you for raising that, so it slipped my mind. I wasn't really privy to, she said she was gonna come here. I did see an email where she offered for any commissioner who wanted to speak with her one-to-one, do reach out, she would like to do that. I don't know about.
Yeah, she confirmed that she would be here and sit here and meet with anyone who wanted to speak, so. She's not here, but we can extend the invitation next meeting as well. But she did, as Sean said, she did confirm that if anyone wants to meet her one-on-one to discuss the Bellhaven naming process, she is open to doing that.
Yeah, and I don't wanna speak for the other council members, but knowing them, I know that they're all very open to outreach from any resident. Especially if you're a change, any of them would be completely open if you were to call them up, so they'll say, hey, I want to meet with you, and they would say yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that. Given that the whole process was quite public in these meetings. Seems to me that would be an appropriate place for which to have that discussion. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, with that, meeting is adjourned at 7:44 p.m.
Thank you all.